Tonight, a former federal prosecutor joins us to preview Bob Mueller's trip to Capitol Hill, testifying tomorrow. Then finally, some good news for 9/11 first responders who've been fighting for years to get Congress to extend funding for their medical issues. Also, we look at President Trump's latest attacks on those 4 Democratic congresswomen and whether it's moving the needle in his poll numbers. Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. A huge week in Washington. Just 14 and a half hours from now, Bob Mueller, he will take the oath and start testifying before the House Judiciary Committee. Now that one kicks off at 8:30 in the morning and it's expected to last 3 hours. Then at noon, Mueller gets grilled by the House Intelligence Committee, and that hearing is expected to take 2.5 hours. We will have live coverage throughout the day, and of course, recap it right here for you tomorrow on RFL at 6 o'clock. Mueller, he is a reluctant witness who has been subpoenaed to testify. A few months ago, he gave his only public statements about the investigation and the report. He had this to say.
The report is my testimony. I would not provide information beyond that which is already public in any appearance before Congress.
Now, for its part, the Justice Department just wrote him a letter and told him to keep his testimony to the confines of the report, and that has angered Congressman Jerry Nadler, among others. Jerry Nadler, a congressman from New York, a Democrat who chairs the Judiciary Committee, said this.
I think it's incredibly arrogant of the department to try to instruct him as to what to say. It's part of the ongoing cover-up by the administration to keep information away from the American people, but I think that it's not going to have a real impact.
And as if we needed more, there is some last-minute drama surrounding the hearing. Time saying that Mueller will testify beside his top aide at the Judiciary Committee, a man named Aaron Zebley. He asked Democrats to allow this. They said yes, Republicans objecting for what it's worth. Joining me now, former federal prosecutor Gene Rossi. And Gene, just because you know everybody, it seems you know the man in question, Mr. Zebley. In fact, you trained the fellow. What does it tell you that Mueller wanted somebody riding shotgun and the concerns or support, depending on the political party, for his appearance?
I think it shows a couple of things. Number one, it shows great judgment of character by Robert Mueller. And as you just stated, I did supervise and train Aaron Zebley for a while, and then he went on to bigger and better things, obviously. But the other thing it shows is Robert Mueller is taking this hearing or hearings very seriously. And he wants to make sure, number one, that he is accurate, and number two, that he doesn't violate any good faith privileges, executive privileges, and the like, so that he doesn't make basically a fool of himself. And the last thing Robert Mueller wants to do is make a fool of himself. But an additional thing that Aaron Zebley adds, and he's got tremendous integrity. What Aaron does is he's sort of a de facto horse whisperer for Robert Mueller, who is going to provide some reassurance whenever Mueller makes a statement, if it's even mildly inaccurate or mildly imprecise, Aaron Zebley will be there to correct the record.
You know, Gene, everybody's waiting, as they say, to see the movie, not the book. The report's been out there for a while. 95+% of not only the public, but I bet you Congress hasn't read the thing. So they said, okay, finally we're going to hear from Mueller. To me, though, I think the star tomorrow is going to be the report itself, because it has been so non-consumed, if you will. People are going to be hearing the passages for the first time. If you were going to give free advice to the Democrats, would you say, don't bloviate, just read the flippin' thing and get the reaction from Mueller?
My advice to the members of Congress on the Democratic side is to stop filibustering, stop showboating. If you want to get as much bang for the buck, as you say, Richard, let that report feed the public. Let the public hear the words. And I would use, if I were a member of Congress or the counsel on the committee, I would basically read parts of the report and get Robert Mueller to say, is that accurate? And if he just says yes, hearing segments of that report would be a phenomenal accomplishment, given there are many people especially in the president's base, who think that it has totally exonerated the president. Far from it.
And I want to get to some of the questions that you'd ask in a second. But, Gene, on the flip side, we're already hearing certain Republicans are going to be basically using tomorrow to try and paint this grand cabal that you had Mueller and his 19 prosecutors in cahoots with the Democrats. They were all out to get the president from jump. If they go down this road, because you know Mueller here, will they live to regret it, or is this a good use of 5 minutes if politically you just want to take the man and his team down?
It's going to be their attempt to bring the man and his team down. And having Aaron Zebley there, who just reeks with integrity, it'll show that this chief of staff, these 19 Democrats on his staff, they're not monsters. They're going to see that Robert Mueller's not a monster. They're going to see he's not part of the deep state. And I predict this. I think the Republicans are going to spend 85% of their time tomorrow talking about the deep state, the Steele dossier, the Hillary emails. You're going to hear that. You're going to hear the investigation of the investigation by John Durham, a U.S. attorney in Connecticut. All the stuff except what's in the report. And I want to say this. If the committee on the Democratic side especially focuses on the 4 overt acts in Volume 2 of obstruction and why they meet the substantive elements of obstruction, and for Volume 1 focus on the systematic attempt by the Internet Research Agency and other Russians to destroy our democracy, if the Dems do that, and not filibuster and bloviate and showboat, then even if Mueller just says yes, yes, yes to what is read from the report, it's game over.
Well, let's talk about that, because wouldn't one of your principal questions, I'm talking Volume 2 now, Gene, say, did you find there was no obstruction? Because we've heard the mantra from the president, no collusion, no obstruction, complete exoneration. On the obstruction front, Mueller, as much as he doesn't want to get involved, he's going to have to answer the question. And I don't think there's a way that he can say no obstruction, right?
Richard, there's absolutely no way Robert Mueller can say tomorrow there is no obstruction. And he also cannot say he did not commit a crime. I'm going to repeat that. Robert Mueller cannot say with respect to Volume 2 that the president did not commit a crime. He's already said that in the report. The other thing that Robert Mueller may do is, given that Bill Barr has given Mueller the green light to do this in a May 30 interview with CBS, Barr said, hey, I don't know why Robert Mueller didn't say yes or no on obstruction. He could have. So I will guarantee a member of that committee is going to say, Mr. Mueller, Bill Barr said you could answer yes or no. Did the president commit obstruction in your view? And Bill Barr gave him the green light. So that's one question. The other question is this, that I can't wait to hear if it's asked and the answer. Did Bill Barr, on his own, take the jump ball and decide no obstruction? Or did you, Robert Mueller, say, hey, Bill, you decide? I can't wait to get the answer to that one.
And on the subject of exoneration, and even more so, Gene, will someone ask, I think they will, if this was regular Joe Schmo and he wasn't president of the United States, would he be looking at charges? Where do you think Mueller goes? Will he answer the questions of both exoneration, and then also if he was a regular guy, would he be looking at charges?
You know, this is that question, Richard, is probably going to be the headline news, Sunday paper top fold answer. Because if Robert Mueller goes there and says that, yes, I would indict Donald Smith, and I did not indict Donald Trump because of the OLC memo, if Mueller says that, that will be extremely explosive. I've been saying for a year, if it were Donald Smith and not Donald Trump, he would be in an orange jumpsuit and behind bars.
Next segment, I'm going to be talking with Pierre Thomas, who knows the FBI, the Department of Justice, as well as anybody in terms of reporters who cover it. But I got to tell you, Barr, to me, has so overtly tried to put his finger on the scales in such a transparent way. I don't think he's done the president any services, but to try to tell Mueller where he's allowed to go or not allowed to go, to try and basically write a synopsis of Mueller's report for him when Mueller didn't want it, to not, by the way, recuse himself out of the Southern District with the Epstein case, and then who knows with the Southern District what is left to come for Donald Trump going forward. It just doesn't smell right, Gene. And I got to tell you, I think even the regular person says, what's he doing and why is he doing this?
Well, I'm a full-blooded Italian. All my grandparents are Italian, and you just got my blood pressure up. I got to say this about Bill Barr. When the history books are written 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now, there's going to be one theme. He has destroyed the integrity and the impartiality of my beloved Justice Department, where I worked for almost 30 years. He has put his thumb on the scale on the Cohen matter in the Southern District of New York. He apparently is putting his thumb on the scale on the Jeffrey Epstein case. He clearly has put his thumb on the scale on this investigation of the deep state syndrome. And he acts like the personal attorney for the President of the United States. He acts like he's a member of the law firm of Sekulow, Giuliani, and Barr. He is the Attorney General of the United States. He represents the people.
And as you said, there's more chapters in that book to come. Gene, as always, my friend, great job. Thank you so much.
Good to have you. Good to be on. Good to be on.
All right, folks, when we come back, a man who is extremely plugged into both the Justice Department and the FBI, he will join us for his take on what we can expect from Mueller, what's going on behind the scenes at DOJ. ABC News Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas joins us after the break.